Hi, everybody. Welcome back to TGCS. My name is Tim Gallagher, and today we are going to be discussing AP Computer Science A, topic 3.7, class variables and methods. And in the second video, we'll develop code to define the behaviors of a class through class methods. Let's get started. So let's talk about what class methods actually are. Class methods can change or access class variables, and they can also invoke other class methods. They cannot, however, change or access instance variables of the class that they reside in. And once again, we'll use the keyword static, this time in the method headers, to identify these types of methods. And public class methods can be invoked by code outside of the class without instantiating an object. We're going to use the class name.method format in order to do this. Now, wait a minute. We've seen this before. Do you remember back in Unit 1? The math class, math.random and math.square and others were all class instance or class methods of the math class that we could invoke by using the class name.method format. We did not have to instantiate the math class in order to use these methods. And there were no instance variables involved when we used these methods within the math class itself. They are all class methods. All right, let's look at an example. So I've got a class called employee with two instance variables, name and salary. And let's say we want to write our own class methods as well. So we're going to have a static double. So this is a class variable called total payroll. And the point of this variable is to keep track of all of the salaries of all the employees that we create within our program. So in my constructor, I've got two parameters, and I'm going to use those two parameters to initialize my instance variables. But then notice every time I construct an employee, I'm going to take the salary of that employee and add it to my total payroll. So now total payroll keeps track of all of the salaries. It's an accumulator static class variable. Now I'm going to write a static method called get double or get total payroll. It returns a double, and this is going to return my total payroll class static variable. Notice that this method is also declared static, so I can use this without instantiating any objects, and I don't have to call it on a particular object. I'm going to use the class name when I refer to this method in another class. So here I've got a class called employee tester. I've got my public static void main, and I've created two employees. I have Pam and I have an employee Jim. They both have names, they both have salaries. And then notice I have a print line and I call the method employee.getTotalPayroll. Here again, I'm using the class name.method. So that is what I use to invoke or to call the getTotalPayroll static method, class method found within the employee class. So let's see what happens when I run this. So first I have my two objects that I've created, Pam and Jim. They both have a name, they both have a salary, but then notice at the bottom there, my employee.total.payroll is going to be 134,000 because I added the salary of each of my employees to that class variable. And then I call employee.getTotalPayroll. So when I run this code, it's going to print out 134,000. Again, notice to access the class method, I used class name.method, not object.method. So what did we learn today? Well, in this video, we developed code to define the behaviors of a class through class methods. We saw how class methods, which are designated with the keyword static, are invoked using the class name.method format. All right, thanks for joining us today on this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.